welcome to an introduction to SAP Business One and also to Ascarii itself. My name is Alan. I'm Alan Hughes, the Solutions Director at Ascarii, and my role here is to look after all the commercial aspects and customer relations with our customers. So just a little brief introduction on ourselves, and then I will take you into SAP Business One. So from a perspective of who we are, we've been established since 2013, and we started Ascarii as a cloud-first thinking organization. And from a perspective of the other side of our business on Cloud for Partners, we have built a cloud platform on Amazon Web Services that is so reliable and well established and liked by many people around the world that we offer the same cloud services to the other 849 SAP Business One partners globally. So a lot of those use our cloud platform to put their customers into the cloud because that's not their expertise, which it is ours. So that's who we are. A lot of people are talking to us about cloud, and this slide is a great example of it. If you can see that more and more companies are demanding cloud and do not want the headache of IT within their business. So they don't want to employ a big IT team, have the headache of tin going wrong and having to get it fixed all the time. By moving to something like AWS on our cloud platform, you're getting the leading edge technology at all times, pretty much 100% uptime nowadays. You know, many years ago, people were worried about the internet going down, but the internet doesn't go down anymore. So it's really a case of cloud is a great way of taking one headache out of the business. It's also very compelling from a cost ownership point of view. So with regards to on-premise, you know, you can buy tin and servers and everything else you need, sometimes quite relatively cheaply, but it has to be the right quality for certain SAP solutions to run on. And when I go into the demonstration in a few minutes, you'll see that I'm demonstrating what is known as the HANA version, HANA version of SAP Business One, and that's SAP's own database technology. And it's an in-memory database as opposed to something that's installed on a hard drive. And the biggest difference is that you get better KPI, you get better dashboard reporting. You know, it's really a lovely way of actually gaining access to company-wide data. But that needs specialist tin, which is pre-approved by SAP and AWS. So it's not just something you can go buy on the grey market. So when it comes to cloud, it does have a very compelling total cost of ownership when you start doing the maths. A good example of that with HANA, because it's in memory, all the data is in memory, it's not on a hard drive. So if you notice here on this particular screen here, if you were buying the tin, the servers, you would need to buy enough space for probably the next 3 years worth of time. So you can see that even your first year and second year, you may not be utilizing all of the power of that server. So it's money wasted. Whereas we look at the cloud, and the way that works is that it starts off with what you need now, and it scales with you as you grow and your requirements get bigger. So that's a great example of how consumption-based design is there for helping you as you grow. It's also very, very scalable. So you can tailor and tweak what you need it to be within your business. So you can start small, you can start big. If you reduce in size, COVID has plainly affected a lot of businesses in different ways. Thankfully for Ascarii, it's not really affected ourselves at all because we've always worked on the cloud and we've always been operating that way. But the whole idea is that you've got that level of flex that you don't get if you've already bought the hardware internally. And it's also very predictable and flexible on billing. So most of our customers will either pay monthly on direct debit or pay quarterly in advance on direct debit. That's it. You know what your budget is, you know what you're spending. You don't have any nasty surprises. And part of the service we provide is a full monitoring service. So should your requirements change and grow, we can make recommendations based on what we're seeing as trends on your operations. It's also highly secure. So AWS is, you know, the highest level tier of security. So again, a lot of people in the past have said to me, "Oh, but I prefer having my hardware and all my data here on site." On site is never going to be as secure as an AWS data center. Literally, you can't get in them anymore. You can't even have a tour of them. All of the data is held on servers and pods, which if something goes wrong with one of those pods, they unplug it and plug another one in. It's really technologically advanced and highly secure. And so the banks, governments, military, these are the sort of environments that they're keeping their data on. So you can move forward as a smaller business, moving into that operation, knowing your data is secure. And from a backup perspective, we back up every hour, every morning and afternoon, every day, every week, every month, and every year. So you've always got access to your data, even should anything terrible happen and catastrophic happen. And from a compliance perspective, this slide is just to recognise that from a compliance perspective, it is a global solution. That SAP Business One works around the world. It comes in 28 different languages. It's a multi-company solution. It's a multi-currency, everything that you'd need. But that also is then tailored to work really well with AWS, because AWS are also the leading cloud partner in the world. And they already have things like firewalls through the Chinese, tunnels through the Chinese firewall, and so on. So they're already established in a lot of countries that a lot of other people are not. And then finally, just to give you an idea of the breadth of where we already currently supply, these are all the gold areas where we've either implemented SAP Business One, or we provide cloud services to people who use SAP Business One in those areas. Now what I'm showing to you is SAP Business One. So if I move on to here, now currently I'm looking at what SAP call a lot of widgets and dashboards on the screen. And the whole idea of these is you can tailor the screen per user to be what you want it to be. And it means you can drive the access and the way you utilize the system through this main screen without having to go up to modules, or without having to go and open up the menu structure on the left-hand side. But we'll come back to that. So straight away with these widgets and dashboards, so you can see things, we've got counters. Anything that's got in red is normally bad. We've got trends. Again, red is bad. If it was green, it was good. So I'm currently looking at a financial overview for a demonstration company called OEC Computers, and I'm logged on as a manager of the whole system, and I have full access rights to everything. What you can do with users in your organizations is actually say what they can and can't do, what they can and can't see, what they have to do, what they're forced to enter, so you can get consistency in data and input, which means your reports and your KPIs that come out of the back of it are going to be more accurate. So as you can see here, I've got things like counters, I've got graphs, charts. I've got also something on here called a financial process. So this is a great way, if someone worked in your accounts department to say, right, I want to put a journal entry in. If I click on journal entry, it brings up a journal entry screen. I don't have to go into that menu structure. And it's a brilliant way of people taking on board what they have to learn. And that's the biggest thing with change. When you're changing a business system from anything else to SAP Business One, for example, it's always about the user and how quickly can they pick up that change. If we can help them by putting these sort of processes on here, and there's a financial process, a sales process, a purchasing process, and a stock control inventory process, covers most areas of a business. This is a really, really quick way of making sure they're getting the most from their investment. So on here, as you can see, we've got all the usual things we'd want. So incoming payments, outgoing journals, reconciliations, period closes, financial reporting. We can go into the chart of accounts. But you'll also see there's a button here. Any of these buttons, you can actually click on them and do things related to what that is. So I could go in and edit the chart of accounts if I have the access rights to do so. Likewise, with journal entries, I can go into the general ledger, look at a document journal, or do a transactional journal report. Those sort of things are all there, and this is how we can help your system grow. But you're not limited to this. So if I very quickly go back to one I had before, and this is now a sales process. So straight away you can now see the process on here is going from quote to order to delivery with returns if needed, to invoice to incoming payments. And we can go into a Dunning Wizard credit control routine. We've got the customer records. We've got the sales reports, again, a list of different types you can look at there. It's a very easy way of getting in. And now the actual rest of the widgets and dashboards have changed. So this time I'm looking at top customers, top best-selling items. my sales orders, my recent updates I'll explain to you in a moment. There's a purchasing one here as well, so you might have someone who does both sales and purchasing. So we can mix and match what's on this screen. And the simple way of doing that is to go into the pencil here, and I can move these things around. So if I want to actually put this above there, I can move it there. And if I then click tick and update my cockpit, you can see that's changed the style and view of what I'm seeing. If I go back into the pencil and this time I click plus, I can add to my screen. So now I've got a wealth of these graphs and widgets and dashboards that I can choose from. And I can say what I want to put on my particular user's screen. So one user can have a radically different screen to the next. And that's the beauty of this. So you can see what you're going to put on there. I touched on it before, but my recent updates, common functions, and messages and alerts are really ones that you should use, in my opinion. And the reason being is that when you come back to the main screen, I like to put them probably top left so we can see what they are, and the common functions as well underneath it, or somewhere around anyway, so that'll do. So you can see these things are here. My recent updates, I'll move there as well so they're together. And if I click tick, the reason I like these is because these are common functions I use in SAP Business One, and I don't have to go into the menu structure. So if I want to go into the chart of accounts, I'll have to update the cockpit first. If I go into the chart of accounts, it brings up the chart of accounts. And this is the standard one that comes with SAP Business One, but you have total flexibility here. So each and every one of your organizations or companies can have a different chart of accounts. If you were ever looking at doing any intercompany transactions or any consolidations, it would be best to try and mirror the chart of accounts across all your various entities in your organization, if that's what you had. But you can change the structure of this. It's very powerful. It can go down to 10 levels. You've got little filing cabinets over here. So away from assets, we look at liabilities, capital and reserves, turnover, and so on. And we even have a couple of spare ones down here, which you can create what you like. So you can either take the SAP version of chartered accounts if you've got nothing better and work with that. But I've got to say, most of our customers do actually spend a day of our consultancy time in actually redesigning the chart of accounts to provide them with something meaningful. So once we've looked at chart of accounts there, as you can see, I can go into various things and I can select quotes and so on. But the whole idea of this dashboard, this screen, is to drive system use. It's not just there for just a report. It can be for what you need it to be for each department and or each user. We can also do more. We've got things like an enterprise search. So in here, if I looked for, now I've got an example in here. I've got a chap called Bill. Think of this as a Google search of your database. So what it's doing now is it's going through in memory, because this is not installed on my machine. My laptop here is a MacBook Air. It's certainly not good enough to run SAP installed on it. This is all through our cloud platform on AWS. So straight away, Bill has now come up and he's in the master data records 3 times. So that means he's in a business partner. So he's probably the account manager for one of them, or one of the customers. And business partner, so you understand what that means, is either a customer, a supplier, or a lead that can be converted to a customer. So you have a bucket of information, a form of CRM. And then he's also in the chart of accounts, that will be under salaries. And he's also in the employee master data, where you've got the ability to record HR details in here too. So he's also in 530 different transactions. So if I was, say Bill left the company and a customer phoned 2 weeks later and said, oh, he was dealing with a return for us a little while back and I just wanted to ask a question about it. You type in Bill, you go straight to sales return, and there you go. There's the sales return. And if you hover above it, it even shows you what the items were that were sent back. And just so you know, the database here is all around computer equipment, printers, and so on. So it's you can see exactly when it was done, who it was done by, who the contact person was, and what they was returned. So very simple to do, but that can be for credit memos, invoices, deliveries, orders, quotes, and so on. So it's a really powerful tool that I know a lot of your peers use extensively when they invest in SAP Business One. The search is a great thing to have, enterprise search. But because it's in memory, what we also have is other functionality, things like cash flow forecasting. Now, most finance departments do this still in Excel. But what you can do here is you can say, right, what date range are we looking at? We can configure it and actually say what we're measuring and what criteria we're looking against. We can also set certainty levels. And all that means, if I click on the spanner here, you can actually say, well, what's king when it comes to cash? Well, incoming and outgoing payments and cash accounts are always going to be absolutely certain. So we put them in certainty level 1. But we might say sales orders or purchase orders that aren't approved yet or aren't received yet aren't as, well, they don't hit cash flow as much, but they may want to influence it. So we put them down at certainty level, but you choose how that works. And this is demonstration data. So this would normally give you a more random graph. And it also shows you what documents it's related to. So anything with a golden arrow in SAP Business One, or any SAP product, to be honest, and same with by design, and even S4HANA at the larger scale, is a drill down into that type of document. So if I click on that document, it shows me the AR invoices, and I can click on that and it'll go directly to that invoice. There we go. So I'll come back to more of the inside of SAP Business One in a while. But in here, we also do realize that finance departments are never going to take Excel out of their operation. So what you can do once you've done this cash flow forecasting with live data in the system is export it to Excel and then manipulate it further. So, you know, we're not taking Excel away, and Office 365 is fully compatible with SAP Business One. So Word, Excel, and so on. So those are the sort of things you can do. There's also a web client view now, which is one of the main reasons. This is version 10 of this software, and SAP Business One has been in the UK now since 2003. So it's not new. It just keeps improving because they have nearly 3,000 people globally developing the software to, 1, enhance it, 2, make sure it keeps up with legislation. So things like GDPR, making tax digital, and MTD in the UK is not unusual. It's a fairly common thing. SAP Business One did MTD for other areas of the world before the UK. So this is where those 3,000 people are actually spending their time, is just making sure this keeps up with the Joneses and in fact has more new things added to it, so it takes further steps ahead of them. So that's the screen, that's the layout. This is a context sensitive menu at the top. It lights up as and when you can use it. So if I go into the menu now, the hamburger as I call it, I'm going to switch on every module so you can see everything that's in here. But unlike a lot of other systems out there, SAP Business One doesn't sell modules individually. You get everything and you just choose which bits are relevant to you and your business, or to users or groups of users in your business. So we can hide what isn't relevant. So as you can see, I've got administration available to me because I am and have administration rights. So in here, this is where we'd set up our different companies. The web client I was touching on with version 10 is where you can actually log into SAP Business One directly from a website. That's already working for sales, finances, purchasing, stock, that's coming. But the whole idea is that you can do that if you wish. Don't have to, but we can link exchange rates directly to the internet, to whatever bank is necessary if required. We've got many customers doing that. Other people prefer to manually update it once a month. The business choice is yours. What we are is set up the system itself. We've got a data import export routine where data can be sucked in from something called a DTW spreadsheet. And that just stands for Data Transfer Workbench. And what you can then do is set up further things like around approval processes. We can set up any add-ons, which I'll talk about in a little while. We can set up workflow. So, you know, this is where having a really proven ERP solution is brilliant, because you're not doing everything manually and you're not doing all the mundane. So we have solutions around entering data more quickly, around sales orders, around purchase invoices, around approval of purchases, approval of this, approval of that. We can automate a lot of that and actually send out messages to the right people to approve or disapprove at the right time. So really clever. And then we've got alerts management as well. So how do people get alerts? Is it on their screen? Is it on their mobile? And so on. So administration is only there if you're an administrator. Most people, when they log in as normal, do not see that. It's just not there. Financials is the sort of core of the solution. So everything that's done elsewhere affects financials. So it is very important, and normally one of the first things that we help customers implement is around the chart of accounts, setting it up, and then how you want to work with journals, postings, and so on. Fixed assets is a standard part of the system. So if you have a number of fixed assets, we can help you set up the depreciation rules. Linking it to your bank account, so you can start doing your bank reconciliation work. And of course, it has all the reports you want, your TB, your balance sheet, and everything else you'd need. It's always been really strong on financials. SAP invented ERP in the 70s, and they've always had a very good reputation around financials. It's absolutely the same with SAP Business One. Even though SAP Business One was designed specifically for the SME market. So I will stress this, it's not the big SAP products. It's designed and can be and has been set up for one user. But the largest site is in China with over 1,000 users. So SAP Business One is very scalable. And if you do invest in this solution, you'll find that it's very hard to outgrow. Very hard, especially as a lot of add-in or add-on solutions which enhance it in areas where this doesn't cover. And I'll address that shortly. So finances are all there. We looked at charts of accounts before. It's all covered. It's approved by financial bodies in the UK. If you go to any accountancy meetings, you'll actually find SAP are represented. So things other than that are things like CRM. So if I click on CRM, I can set up, if I move this over slightly, we've got things like business partner master data. So if I go into this, this is where a lot of people spend their lives. So we're looking at, if I look at a particular customer, I'm thinking Maxitech when I get there. I could search for it, but I know it's not very far. There we are, Maxitech. So straight away, it recognizes it's a customer. It's a British customer. We know what group they're in. We know what currency we deal with them. You've got your, that should say UK. For whatever reason, someone's been playing with a demonstration system and set it to the US side, but that would say UK VAT. And you've got your VAT number in there. You've got your account manager name. And over here, we've got things like account balance, deliveries, orders, and so on. And anything with a golden arrow, again, if I click on that, it brings up all their account balance details directly from the financial element. So Maxitech are a great one for me to demonstrate with because they order lots and never pay for anything. So that will become apparent as we go through. What we can also do is actually look at a number of these tabs. Now, CP usage, which stands for Care Pack, which is one of our support mechanisms here at Ascarii. We can talk about that later. But that doesn't exist as a tab in SAP Business One. We've created that with something called Boyum B1 usability package. Now that allows us to create fields, tabs on the fly. It allows us to make things mandatory. It allows us to add color, like yellow here, like the flag here. It allows us to actually hide tabs, hide fields, the complete control. It gives you complete configuration, something which you can learn yourselves, and we can happily teach you. But what it also does is it allows you to create the solution that fits your business requirements without bespoking. And that's absolutely what we do at Ascarii. We do not bespoke anything. We configure, and it's supportable and upgradable because of that. So I know plenty of ERP solutions out there. The answer is always yes, you can have that, and they code on the edges. So when it comes to upgrading, it's an absolute nightmare. It is not the same nightmare with SAP Business One with Ascarii on the cloud. It just isn't. It's a much smoother and more cost-effective process. So what we can do here, as you can see, we've got general information. We've got contact people, of which you can have multiples. We've got multiple addresses for both bill to and ship to, depending on what your business requirements are. The payment terms, so you can see what they are, which business partner bank they deal with, and so on. The payment run, where you get your payments. The accounting details, where it actually hits on the ledgers in the general ledger. Properties and remarks is just that. And properties is just recording whatever you wish to record. and you can just tick on them, and you can then run reports or marketing campaigns on the back of that. And Remarks is a sort of mini word processor. Just type in whatever notes you want. But when you're in the Business Partner Master Data screen, you'll notice that we've got letter merging. We've got, you can also, so we can view service calls, activities, opportunities, recurring transactions, and so on. We can create an activity to make, for a meeting or a phone call or whatever it is going to be, or create a quote. We can also do things like Customer 360. Now, that again, this is something only in the HANA version of SAP Business One. It's not in the SQL version, but the choice is still yours. If you've got lots of SQL skills in house, you could you can pick up HANA very quickly. But if you have HANA, you've got something like this, like Customer 360. So straight away from Maxitech, you can see green upward trend. Total sales amount's gone up. The gross profit is great. Everything looks rosy. As we go through this, sales, it's all mirrored here. Things are great. But when we come to order fulfillment, you can see, well, this is the first time we see a red figure, though, so the fulfillment days aren't great. But the worst thing is receivables, because I put a lot of quotes and orders onto this and stop at invoicing. So they owe a small fortune. They're well above their credit limit. They may, to the salesperson, be the greatest customer ever because they keep buying stuff. But to the finance team, they're dreadful because their age debt is horrendous. So that's just a pretty obvious example of what you can do. But these pervasive analytics, this 360 screen, is something you can design yourself. And just popping back to the main screen here, if I go into pervasive analytics, you can see this is where you can set up a variety of dashboards and KPIs, and they can be company-wide, customer or supplier-wide, or specific customers and suppliers. So you can actually have some key accounts and actually create KPIs, dashboards, or advanced dashboards like that Customer 360 specifically for individual customers or suppliers. So that's in there. It's something we teach you to take ownership of. You don't have to rely on Ascarii to do all of this work for you. And the whole idea is we want you to become more self-sufficient and ultimately a customer reference for us and for SAP. So that's the Business Partner Master Data. If I go in here and, so you saw that there with what can be done. Just looking at the menu structure itself, CRM and everything is all there. We have opportunity management. We have the ability to create sales from quote onwards. Same with purchasing. And we can have approval processes in there as well before certain things over certain values are ordered. Customers and suppliers we've touched on already. Banking in stock control is another hugely important element for many of our customers. About a third of our customer base are manufacturers. About another third are distribution and stock holding. So they have warehousing requirements as well as manufacturing. And the rest are a mix of financial organizations, of different types and styles of business. So it really is quite eclectic in who we deal with. But we know stock well at Ascarii. We have some very experienced people who've worked with lots of manufacturers and distributors and helped them gain better visibility of stock levels, better visibility of stock value, more importantly, and aging stock, those sorts of things. So when I click on inventory, you can see I've got item master data, which is similar. So the look and feel is similar to what we looked at with business partner records. So if I go to a stock item, let's go to something that's recognizable, such as a printer. There we go. So an office printer, you can see that this is a stocked item. We sell it and we purchase it. If I was a manufacturer of these office printers, I would stock them, I would sell them, but I wouldn't buy them, for example. So straight away, we can set up my item type. So it's in items, it's in an item group of JB printers. All of these are totally designed by you and us in helping you. So when we deliver projects, we do it in two phases. We do a discovery and design phase to begin with, which looks to gain a thorough understanding of where you are, what you do, how it currently works, and where you want to be and how you want it to work in the future. And we will be challenging you through that process in giving you examples of how other people have done it to aid and benefit their businesses. So that's what one of the advantages Ascarii has, is that because of our experienced staff members, when we're doing the design and discovery phase, we're actually helping you design the best possible system, not only for now, but for the future as well. What we don't want to do, for example, in the chart of accounts, is design something that then gives you a cul-de-sac where you can't go any further with that particular setup. So we help you identify where those problems are and help remove them. That's part of our challenge and what we like to do. So straight away on the master data on here, you can see general information again. We've got where we buy it from. We can have a preferred supplier. Again, I'm on the American version, so we need to get that changed back to UK. We can also have a manufacturer catalogue number. So if you as a business buy in something that can be bought from other places very easily, you can change the catalogue number to be whatever you want it to be as your own number, so they can't search for it on Google as easily. But behind the scenes, it's still linked to the original manufacturer catalogue number. That's just an example of how it can help improve things. We've got purchasing and various different units of measure, different things we're recording. It's unlimited what you want to put in here. And as I said, we can add fields to these things. That's something you can pull up on a graph. Sales data, again, we've got a sales unit of measure, which could be very different to what you purchase it in. So a lot of people buy boxes or pallets, but sell them in eaches, or in 6s or 12s, or whatever you actually sell them on. Stock data, you can have as many or as little warehouses as you wish on the system. Now, that's one of the nice things about SAP Business One, is that because you've got that ability, you can take even a single location business and split the warehouse into virtual warehouses. So you could have a quality control warehouse where anything that goes into quality control is suddenly removed from visible stock. You can't sell it. Salespeople can't pick it up and sell it to someone because it has to go through a quality process. That's a great example of what we can do here. Or you can have physical warehouses. So you've got different warehouses with different stock levels. And as you can see, we've got different numbers. If I scroll slowly across, don't know if we've got any in stock. Yeah, we've got 1,028. So where are they? Oh, there they are at the top. They're in a general warehouse and the backup warehouse for this particular item. Planning data this is where it links to something called MRP, and I don't know if you understand that term, but that stands for Materials Resource Planning, and it's a big calculator. That's all it is. So you can put all the variables into SAP Business One into the MRP engine, and it will run all the calculations for you and take away all the brain work for you, and then give you recommendations of what the system sees you need to buy or you need to make if you're a manufacturer. You don't have to take its word. You, as the buyer and the person that's in charge of it, may have more knowledge that the system doesn't. So you might actually say, well, if we sell umbrellas and this summer's an absolute scorching summer, which it was, you wouldn't need umbrellas, so you wouldn't buy as many. Whereas the year before it was torrential rain and you sold lots of umbrellas. Just an example of what MRP will do. It will give you the information for you then to make a judgment on and make an informed decision upon the data it provides to you. So this is important. Production data is only relevant if you are in a manufacturing business, but we've got the ability to either manually enter how we issue when we get to the end of a works order and we've said how many we've made. You can either do it manually or you can do something called backflush. And all that means is that if you're making a device that contains 5 items in its bill of materials, the system knows it contains those 5 items. So if you made 10 of those items in your production run in the works order, it would actually say, right, well, we've made 10, so we must date stock by 50 items. That's what backflush means. And then shoes doesn't exist. That's one of the companies we're currently working with who deal with shoes. So in here, we can actually put in different colors and materials. So that wouldn't be on anyone else's. Properties, again, we can put in what we need. Remarks and attachments is consistent with before. So stock control is in there. It understands the concept of barcodes, but doesn't then take it into a warehouse or manufacturing area with barcode readers, which is why we have other add-on solutions that do this. We've actually got 3 different barcode scanning solutions on offer that fully integrate with SAP Business One, which help businesses gain far greater control of stock, helps with picking, helps with getting goods out of the door, but most importantly gives you more accurate reporting and certainly makes stock takes much easier. We're currently working with a customer who's a manufacturer who their main problem is that they've outgrown their existing accounting system, and their manual processes around every other aspect of the business are killing them. They're just working every hour they can, and they're still not in control. So part of the processes we're going through now, because we're at the discovery and design phase, is identifying exactly what we're going to do in the delivery phase, which is the next stage, where we then build SAP Business One to provide what they want. And what we're going to do for them is actually set up a full warehouse management system with barcoding. We're putting in shop floor data collection with Buoyant Cloud, which allows on the production side of things to record actual figures of how many have been made, how much time's been taken on each job, and so on. So they're going to get that all back into the key core SAP Business One system, which then gives accurate reporting. Accurate reporting helps make better judgments and better decisions. So that's how we're helping them currently. I've no idea, we've now got multiple people on the call today, so I've no idea how many people need that or don't need it. But the whole idea of this is where we at Ascarii use our expertise, because this is what we do. We're cloud experts and we're SAP experts, and we've done this many times. So it's all about helping understand what and gaining an understanding of what you really need, and then helping you get it delivered. And we work as a partnership. It's very, very important that we work as a partnership. So as you can see in here, it's the ability to pick and pack. So that's getting all your products together in an area in your warehouse, for example, ready to be packed for delivery. That's what it means. And we can set up various things around price lists, and there's various stock reports already built in, or we can help you configure your own. So, you can set whatever rules around FIFO or another type in. The only one you can't do anymore is LIFO. Last in, first out is illegal nowadays, but all the others are available. It works with batches. It works with serial numbers. So people in the food and in pharmaceutical industries are using SAP Business One globally because it works really well. It provides all the data. So if you were a food manufacturer of pies, and Tesco's came in as one of your customers with a particular pie and said, this pie, tell me everything about it, this system would give you the reports to show you where you bought all of the ingredients, all of the packaging, everything around the manufacturing process. It will be able to provide that instantly. So this is where it makes a huge difference. When people have manual systems around these processes, it can take days, if not weeks. And the food and pharmaceutical industry are very strict. So if it can handle them, it pretty much handles every industry that has any sort of requirement in that respect. So as well as stock control, we've got resources. So in here, we'd be able to set resource master data. Now that in SAP Business One can either be machines or people. So in that's a heat scene, there's someone who cuts wood. There's got a production person, senior and junior, a quality controller, and so on. So in here, you'd be able to say what hours they work, when they're on holiday, when a machine needs updating or needs to be fixed or have a service, and so on. So this is where you'd store all your resources, and you'd be able to put in a resource capacity. So for example, if you were a manufacturer and you had the ability to make 100 boxes of something a day, and you had an order for 200 and they all need to go out on the same day, well, plainly the system will say, well, you can't. You can only make 100. So what are you going to do? So you can then either third party that out to another manufacturer to do on the same day, or you speak to the customer and say, we'll supply you 100 today and 100 tomorrow. Those are the sort of things you can have. And I always find customers in that respect, as long as you talk to them and you explain why and understand what the capacities are, most people are pretty reasonable and understand. So it's important we set up those rules to start with. Production, if it's relevant, this is where you would put in your bills of materials. So if I click on here and go to a bill of material, you can see this one is for an app server. So we've got in build time, we've got the senior technician time, the actual components, and so on. We build up a bill of materials, or a recipe if you're in the food industry, of what goes in and how it works. That's all this is. So once you've created your bills of materials, you can then issue for production, you can set up works orders and so on. And that also links to MRP. So this is where we can go into the MRP wizard and actually start clicking next and setting up what we want to do. So in it goes, and click next, and you say what your production time is and so on. And that's what then, I don't know if it's going to work. No, it's not. It's, so I've got to put different dates in. So I won't bother with that for today. But that will ultimately come out with an order recommendation, which will actually show us, I'm not just going to show us anything here. Yeah, so in this case, it's telling us to purchase these items. If you were a manufacturer, it would also be telling us to manufacture these items. And it will tell you on a timescale whether it fits in with the timescales and capacity and everything that you're looking to actually work within. So that's all there as standard in the system. And what we also have is service management. So there are a couple of apps that come with SAP Business One if you wish to use them. One is a sales app. So if you've got a sales force and they're out on the road, they can actually just use their mobile or their tablet and actually go in and work SAP from there. So they can record notes, they can put in orders, they can raise a quote, they can do all sorts. Likewise, there's a service app. Now, it's a fairly basic service app, but it'll allow you to take photos. It'll actually look at tickets and jobs and pick it up. You can also set up, if you have actually any service engineers on the road with a van with stock on, what we have done in the past for many people is actually set up their van as a warehouse in Business One, so you can instantly restock when you've used equipment from it. So these are the sort of things we can do. As you can see, we can set up service calls, equipment cards. You can set up different service contracts. So if you're in a company that actually provides a service contract, you know, for fulfilling support or repair or anything in that way, you can set it up. You can set up all the criteria, the pricing and everything, and more importantly, the renewals. So you can actually send out the renewal well in advance of the date lapsing. So very much a case of you've got better control and better reporting, and you can manage by exception. So there is also the ability in here for HR. So you can set up employee master data records. Now, I'd say this is a fairly basic HR. So make it smaller so it's easier to see. So in here we have a warehouse manager. We can have their work address, their home address, any memberships they're in, administration. So we can see, you can record absences, education, reviews, and so on. The personal information about them, their passport details if they have to travel and so on. Finance, what they're paid, what bank account, etc., and remarks and attachments. But this is only the basics. You can add fields, you can add tabs, you can do more with this. If you want to go to the next level, we have add-ons for HR to take it to the next level. So, but what we tend to find with a lot of businesses that are looking to invest in SAP Business One is that their HR system is normally a filing cabinet. So this is a huge step forward, and very much a case of, well, having it all here is a really great way of actually making sure we can record all our reviews. Or if someone leaves, why? You know, so, you know, it's, here we go. So termination reasons and reviews at point of leaving. So you can learn as a business how to try and make sure people don't do that again. So that's in there, as well as time recording, as you can see here, which also links to project management. So these are financial projects in here as such. So in here, we can see for a project, it can be either external, so customer facing, or internal, you're doing up your boardroom, or you're investing in some new furniture or something in that way. So if I look at a couple of examples on here, you can see that this is a new server installation for Maxitech. It's an external project. We've got all our dates, the stages that we've set up, the tasks, whether it's meeting or planning or project work or whatever, the planned cost and what we've invoiced so far. So again, forgive the demonstration data, but straight away you can see over here the project name, when it started, and so on, the open activities, how much percentage it's complete, and what financial project it's linked to. So if I click on that, it actually shows us the actual project setup. So again, that can be set up to get better reporting around financials on a specific project or group of projects. But down here, we can see open issues, any attachments we've attached, any documents, So in this case, there's an invoice that's gone out for £10,000. It's not been paid yet. Maxitec don't pay, as you saw earlier. The works orders, if they're relevant, and any activities. So in this case, it's a project meeting. It could be a phone call. It could be anything. But what we can also do on here is right-click, and this is something that's consistent throughout the whole system. So if I go into the Gantt chart, it actually shows the lifetime of that project. So thus far, over, forgetting the year because it's demonstration data, but you can actually start seeing the life of that project. More and more people are interested in the project element of this and are using it. So, again, depending on the type of business you are, is whether it's relevant. But if any of these modules aren't relevant, all I do is go up here and just switch off the ones that aren't. So if I'm not a stock holding business, I don't care about resources, production, MRP, I'm not into service, and so on, I can then update that, click OK, and it's reduced my menu accordingly. So, and unlike other systems where it just grays it out, it just removes it. No one's going to even know that they exist. When they log in, that's their world. And I know today's meeting was only for an hour, so I want to finish off on a nice simple process for you, just to show you how easy it is to use. So if I click on Sales Quotation, okay, so I'm going to choose Maxitec. In they go. Straight away, we know this is an open quote. The date's gone in, the valid date, because these rules have been set up prior to this, and the document date. The airplane on ground is another customer who supply airplane ancillary equipment, and if the airplane's on the ground, it means they can't fly, so that's more urgent. But that's not standard SAP. But in here now, so if I go in here and actually choose an item, so I'm going to choose an office printer, I'm going to say 10 of them. You can see automatically it knows the unit price because this customer has been set up in that price group for that product range. Again, lots of setup and configuration you can do there. They are, if they ever paid their bills, a great customer, so they get a 22% discount at line level for that item. So that reduces its price accordingly to £195 each. So in there, 10 of those, there's the price. You could actually change that, not be line level. You could actually do a group discount as well for the whole range if you had multiple line items. So in it goes. I can put in the sales employee, the owner, any remarks, and I'll add that sales quote. I don't know why it's holding on. There we go, it's done. No, it isn't. Why is it pausing? No, it's worked now. So if I go to that one that we just did, so there it is. If I now go to copy to, you can see that I can now copy that to a sales order. So it's going to say they've exceeded the credit limit, which they have, which we saw earlier. Do you want to continue? I'll say yes, because I have the access rights to say yes. A lot of staff members will not have that ability. So they could either say, sorry, I can't take your order because you're over your credit limit, or I can take your order, but nothing will be released until you pay some of your outstanding age debt. So in here now, this is a sales order. We can put in a delivery date. So we'll say it's today, T for today. So in the down here as well, again, those two bottom ones don't exist in SAP. They're just being used for demonstrations. So in here now, we can see that the actual orders there. I can add and view. So that's now a sales order that's confirmed. I can now copy that to a delivery. So this time it'll come up with a delivery. It always still give me that warning on the credit limit. So the delivery is now the same. In it goes. Yes, we're delivering it all on, but see, it's actually linked. It's based on that quote 1312, based on sales orders 1396. It links everything. So you've got an audit trail of everything you do. So if I add that delivery note, yes, I will. In it goes. And then last but not least, I'll copy it to, I can do a return, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it to an invoice. So straight away, invoice. Now we've highlighted this field in pink because it's a mandatory field. So I have to put in a reference. In it goes. I click add and view. I can't change it. On it goes as an invoice. Now, if I right click on that screen and go to relationship map, this actually shows me those transactions we just did. So there's the sales quote. It's locked because it's finished and been converted to a sales order. It's locked because it was finished and went to a delivery. Likewise, to an unlocked and open AR invoice. So this could be quite expansive. So your quote could have turned into multiple orders, which had multiple deliveries, which had multiple invoices. So this can get quite busy. But this is the whole point. You can move these things around. And if you double click on any one of them, it brings up that document. So very, very useful when you're dealing with customers or suppliers on the phone, and also very easy to find the information you want. So you have a full audit trail of everything you do as you process in SAP Business One. So that's a high level introduction to SAP Business One. I can now see that there's a few of you on the call today. Does anyone have any questions? There is the ability to either type them in on your panel, or I can make the microphone open for you if you wish to speak. Alternatively, we will email you afterwards and just see if this is something you'd like to explore a bit further for either your organization or for someone you're representing. I can see there's no questions. It's a SAP Business One, just to finish with then. It's actually now in use in nearly 80,000 separate businesses around the world. About 80% of those are SMEs, as we would recognize them. 20% of them are actually companies, large companies, the likes of Coca-Cola and large corporates, who use it for their small new factories or new warehouses. They want it as a small entity system because it talks to the big SAP systems too. So if any of you have suppliers or customers that work with big SAP, we can exchange information with them subject to your rules and regulations if you wish to do so. So plenty to talk about there in the future. As I say, my name is Alan Hughes. I'm the Solutions Director at Ascarii. I run a sales team here. We're more than happy on a friendly manner term to actually help you gain a better understanding and maybe a more thorough introduction to Business One, maybe to your own requirements. That's something we can do at a later stage. Thank you for your time, and hope to speak to you again soon. Cheers now. Bye-bye.